The champagne bottle shattered against the marble floor of their Banana Island penthouse, spraying golden liquid across Adanna's designer heels. Her husband, Chukwuemeka, stood in the center of their living room, his arm wrapped around a woman she'd never seen before, a light-skinned girl who couldn't have been more than 25, wearing Adanna's anniversary necklace. "Pack your things and get out," Chukwuemeka said, his voice cold as Lego's harmattan wind. "I don't need you anymore." Adanna's hands trembled, her phone nearly slipping from her grip. Just 3 hours ago, she'd been at the Federal Palace Hotel attending her friend Ngozi's birthday lunch. Now she stood frozen in the doorway of the home she'd helped build for 15 years, watching her entire world collapse. The girl, this stranger, giggled and pressed herself closer to Chukwuemeka's chest. "Baby, is this her? The one you told me about?" "Don't call me that in front of—" Adanna started, her voice breaking. "In front of who?" Chukwuemeka cut her off, his eyes blazing with something she'd never seen before. "Cruelty. Pure, undiluted cruelty. You're nobody now, Adanna. I won $200 million in the national lottery 3 days ago. 200 million. Do you know what that means?" The room spun. Adanna gripped the doorframe to steady herself. The lottery ticket. The one she'd bought last month at the ShopRite on her way home from her mother's house. The one she left on the kitchen counter because she'd been too tired to check the numbers. "That ticket was mine," she whispered. Chukwuemeka laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that echoed off the high ceilings. "Your name isn't on it, is it? I claimed it. The money's in my account. And now I'm done pretending to love a woman who couldn't even give me a son." The words hit like physical blows. Their 3 daughters, Chukwuemeka, Adiz, and little Neoma, were at her sister's house in Lekki. Thank God they weren't here to witness this betrayal, this public disgrace of their mother. 15 years, Adanna said, her voice steadier now, cold fury replacing shock. 15 years I stood by you when you were selling secondhand electronics at Computer Village, when your business failed, when your own brothers called you a failure. And now I'm a winner, Chukwuemeka said, pulling the girl closer. "This is Kimberly, my new woman, the one who appreciates me. You have until morning to clear out your things." And Adanna? He smiled, and it was the smile of a stranger. "Don't even think about fighting me on this. I've already transferred the penthouse deed to my name only. I've changed all the passwords. You have nothing." Kimberly's laughter filled the space where Adanna's heart used to be. But as Adanna turned to leave, her eyes caught something on the coffee table. The lottery ticket stub, the customer receipt with the purchase details. And in that moment, despite the tears blurring her vision and the pain crushing her chest, a small, dangerous smile curved her lips. Chukwuemeka had made a fatal mistake. He had no idea who really owned that winning ticket. What will Adanna do next? Will she fight back or walk away? Drop a like if you're hooked, and comment below your thoughts on this betrayal. Don't forget to subscribe to African Echoes for more dramatic stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Adanna sat in her car outside the penthouse, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles had gone pale. The Lagos night pressed against the windows. Humid, dark, alive with the distant sounds of generators and late-night street vendors. Her phone buzzed with messages from her sister Obiageli, but she couldn't bring herself to read them yet. Instead, she stared at the photograph on her phone screen, the lottery ticket receipt. She'd taken the picture weeks ago when she'd organized their financial documents, never imagining she'd need it as evidence. The timestamp showed her car number, the date, the exact time of purchase, 3:47 p.m. on October 12th. Her name on the bank transaction. "Stupid man," she whispered into the darkness. "You think you've won." Her phone rang. "Obiageli." She answered. "Ada, where are you? The girls are asking for you." "What's happening?" Adanna's voice came out steady, surprising even herself. "Emeka kicked me out. He won the lottery, or he thinks he did. He has another woman." The line went silent for a heartbeat. Then Obiageli's voice exploded. "He did what?" "That useless goat. That." "Obi, listen to me." Adanna cut through her sister's rage. "I need you to do something. Tomorrow morning, take the girls to Mama's house in Enugu. Don't tell anyone where you're going. And I need the number for Barrister Okonkwo, the one who handled your divorce. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've ever been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. Are you Team Adanna? You're going to fight him? Obiajuli's voice held equal parts fear and pride. I'm going to destroy him. Adanna spent the night in a modest hotel in Victoria Island, lying awake on sheets that smelled of industrial detergent, so different from the Egyptian cotton she'd handpicked for their penthouse bed. But she didn't cry. Tears were a luxury she couldn't afford now. Instead, she made lists, plans, calls. By morning, she contacted Barrister Okonkwo, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who'd built a reputation dismantling cheating husbands across Lagos. By noon, they sat across from each other in the lawyer's office in Acadia, the air conditioning fighting a losing battle against the heat. Mrs. Okafor, Barrister Okonkwo said, studying the documents Adanna had spread across her desk. This receipt is gold, but we need to move fast. If he's already claimed the money, he has. He told me it's in his account. The lawyer's lips curved into a predatory smile. Then we freeze it. I'll file an injunction today. We'll claim fraud, misappropriation of marital property, and theft. The Lottery Commission will have to investigate who actually purchased the ticket. How long will that take? In Nigeria? Barrister Okonkwo laughed without humor. It could take months. But the injunction? That happens within days. He won't be able to touch a kobo while the investigation continues. Adanna felt something loosen in her chest. Not relief, not yet, but possibility. And the house. The penthouse on Banana Island? The lawyer flipped through more papers. You said you contributed to the down payment? Every naira. My catering business paid for it. His name is on the deed, but I have bank statements, transfer records, everything. Good. We'll file for divorce and claim your share of all marital assets. The penthouse, his car, the property in Abuja. There's property in Abuja? Adanna's voice went cold. Barrister Okonkwo looked up, recognizing the tone. You know? Tell me. The lawyer pulled out a document from a separate file. A 4-bedroom house in Maitama, purchased 8 months ago, registered solely in his name. She paused. Mrs. Okafor, how long has this affair been going on? The question hung in the air like smoke. 8 months. Kimberly had been wearing her anniversary necklace, the one Chukwuemeka had given her 9 months ago, claiming he'd saved for it. But he hadn't saved. He'd been building a separate life, planning this betrayal while Adanna cooked his meals, raised his daughters, supported his failing businesses with her catering income. I need to see that house, Adanna said. Mrs. Okafor, I don't think. I need to see what he's been building while I was playing the fool. That evening, Adanna stood across the street from a Maitama property, her rental car idling in the shadows of a flame tree. The house was beautiful, modern, expensive, with a Mercedes parked in the driveway. Not Chukwuemeka's Mercedes. A red one. A woman's car. As she watched, the front door opened. Kimberly stepped out, laughing into her phone, her belly slightly rounded beneath a flowing dress. Pregnant. The girl was pregnant. Adanna's hands shook as she started the car. But this time, the shaking wasn't from pain or shock. It was from rage. Pure, clarifying rage that burned away every soft feeling she'd ever had for the man she'd called her husband. Chukwuemeka wanted a war. He was about to get one he'd never forget. The plot thickens. What will Adanna do with this devastating discovery? Stay tuned, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next in this explosive tale of betrayal and revenge. The injunction hit Chukwuemeka's bank account like a thunderbolt on a clear day. Adanna received a call from Barrister Okonkwo while she was staying at a small guest house in Surulere, the kind of place she would turn her nose up at just a week ago. Now it felt like a fortress, a place where she could think clearly, away from the wreckage of her former life. It's done, the lawyer said, satisfaction evident in her voice. The federal high court has frozen all accounts associated with the lottery winnings. He can't touch the money until the investigation concludes. I also filed a divorce petition and the property claims. He should be served by tomorrow morning. Adanna closed her eyes, allowing herself one moment of victory. Thank you, barrister. Don't thank me yet. The real battle is just beginning. The lawyer was right. When Chukwuemeka received the court papers the next morning, his response was immediate and volcanic. Adanna's phone exploded with calls and messages. First from him, then from his relatives, then from mutual friends who'd suddenly chosen sides. She ignored them all except one. Her mother-in-law, Mama Emeka. Ada, my daughter. The older woman's voice crackled to the phone from Enugu. What is this I'm hearing? You've taken my son to court? Over lottery money. Adanna sat up straighter on the narrow bed. Mama, did Emeka tell you he kicked me out of our home? That he has another woman? A pregnant one. The silence stretched long enough that Adanna thought the call had dropped. Pregnant. Mama Emeka's voice had changed, gone cold and sharp. He told me you left because you were jealous of his success, that you wanted to take his blessing from him. His blessing? Adanna laughed, a bitter sound. Mama, I bought that ticket, with my own money from my catering business. He stole it from me, and now he's moved his pregnant girlfriend into a house in Abuja that he bought with money from our joint account. Money I earned feeding half of Lagos at their parties and weddings. Another long silence. Then, semi-proof. Adanna spent the next hour forwarding bank statements, the lottery receipt, photos of the Abuja house, everything. She knew Mama Emeka was traditional, believed in keeping marriages together at all costs. But she also knew the old woman had raised Chukwuemeka to respect his wife, and she had no tolerance for men who disgraced their families publicly. That evening, as Adanna prepared a simple meal of jollof rice in the guest house's shared kitchen, her phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello, is this Adanna Okafor? A woman's voice, young, uncertain. Who is this? My name is Ifeoma. I'm Chukwuemeka's secretary. Or I was. He fired me this morning after court papers came. The girl's voice dropped to a whisper. Mrs. Okafor, there's something you need to know. Adanna's heart began to pound. What? Kimberly isn't the only one. There's another woman. In Abuja. Her name is Blessing. She has a 2-year-old son. Chukwuemeka has been supporting them for 3 years. The wooden spoon slipped from Adanna's hand, clattering against the pot. 3 years. While she'd been pregnant with Neoma, their youngest daughter, Chukwuemeka had been building a second family. While she'd been recovering from a difficult delivery, nearly dying from blood loss, he'd been playing father to another woman's child. Why are you telling me this? Adanna managed to ask. Because he owes me 6 months' salary, Ifeoma said, her voice hardening. And because I watched him laugh when he fired me today. Called me a useless girl who couldn't keep her mouth shut. Mrs. Okafor, I have documents. Bank transfers, hotel receipts, text messages, everything, and I'm willing to testify. Meet me tomorrow. Adanna said immediately, I'll have my lawyer present. Ifeoma, thank you. After the call ended, Adanna stood in the kitchen, surrounded by the smell of burning rice she'd forgotten to stir. Around her, other guests moved through their evening routines. A young couple laughing, an elderly man watching Nigerian Idol on his phone, a woman braiding her daughter's hair. Normal life. The kind of life she'd thought she had. She turned off the stove and called Barrister Okonkwo. We have more ammunition, she said. Much more. The next morning, Adanna, Barrister Okonkwo, and Ifeoma met at a small cafe in Yaba. The former secretary was younger than Adanna expected, maybe 28, with tired eyes and a determined set to her jaw. She brought 2 flash drives and a folder thick with printed documents. This is everything, Ifeoma said, sliding them across the table. 3 years of records. He was sloppy, thought nobody would ever check. Used company accounts to pay for Blessing's rent, Kimberly's shopping trips, hotel rooms. All of it. Barrister Okonkwo's eyes gleamed as she reviewed the documents. This is fraud. Misappropriation of business funds. If any of these accounts had partners or investors, his brother Obiora invested 2 million naira last year. Ifeoma offered for the electronics import business. I have those records too. Adanna felt a cold satisfaction settling into her bones. Chukwuemeka hadn't just betrayed her. He'd been stealing, lying, building his empire of deception with other people's money. And now it was all going to come crashing down. File everything, she told Barrister Okonkwo. Every charge. I want him to know what it feels like to lose everything. But as they left the cafe, Adanna's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. She opened it, and her blood ran cold. It was a photo of her daughters, Chukwuemeka, Adiz, and Neoma, playing in her mother's compound in Enugu, taken from outside the fence. Recent, maybe hours old. Below the photo, a message. Stop the case or your daughters will learn what happens to children of greedy women. You have 48 hours. Adanna's hand shook so hard she nearly dropped the phone. Barrister Okonkwo grabbed her arm, steadying her. What is it? Adanna showed her the message, and the lawyer's face went pale. We need to call the police, Barrister Okonkwo said. This is a threat, a serious one. But Adanna was already dialing her mother's number, her heart hammering against her ribs. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Ada, her mother's voice, thank God, normal, unconcerned. Mama, are the girls okay? Are they with you right now? Yes, they're fine. Playing in the backyard with your brother's children. Why? What's wrong? Lock the gates. Don't let anyone in. I'm sending someone. She looked at Barrister Okonkwo, who was already making calls. Chukwuemeka had just made his biggest mistake. He'd threatened her children. The stakes just got deadly. What will Adanna do to protect her daughters? Don't miss the next chapter. Hit like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to African Echoes for more intense stories. Would you back down if your children were threatened, or would you fight harder? The police station in Enugu smelled of stale sweat, old paper, and desperation. Adanna sat across from Inspector Emeka Nwosu, no relation to her husband. Thank God. A broad-shouldered man in his 40s with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Mrs. Okafor, he said, studying the threatening message on her phone. This is serious. Criminal intimidation. Threatening a minor. We'll need to investigate. I know who sent it, Adanna said flatly. My husband, or someone working for him. Can you prove that? She couldn't. The number was untraceable, probably a disposable phone. But she knew Chukwuemeka's tactics. He'd always been the type to threaten when cornered, to bully when he couldn't win fairly. Inspector Nwosu leaned back in his chair. I'll assign officers to watch your mother's house. Plain clothes. And I recommend you keep your daughters there, away from Lagos, until this is resolved. Adanna nodded, though every fiber of her being screamed to go to Enugu, to hold her children, to never let them out of her sight. But Barrister Okonkwo had been clear. Running to them now would only confirm she was rattled, and rattled women made mistakes. There's something else, the inspector said. I made some calls after your lawyer contacted us. Your husband, he's been flashing money around Lagos. Big money. Taking Kimberly to expensive restaurants, buying her jewelry, throwing parties at Club Quillox. For a man whose accounts are supposedly frozen, he seems to have plenty of cash. Adanna's eyes narrowed. How? That's what we need to find out. The lottery commission froze the official winnings, but if he managed to move money before the injunction. Inspector Nwosu trailed off meaningfully. Back in Lagos 2 days later, Adanna met with Ifeoma again, this time at the former secretary's small apartment in Ikeja. The girl lived modestly, a 1-bedroom with peeling paint and a ceiling fan that wheezed asthmatically. Before he fired me, Ifeoma said, pulling out her laptop, I noticed something strange. Large cash withdrawals from the company account. 50,000 here, 100,000 there. Started about a week before the lottery announcement. He knew, Adanna breathed. He knew he'd won before he claimed it publicly. That's why he kicked me out so fast. He'd already been moving money. Not just moving it, hiding it. Ifeoma pulled up a series of transactions. Look, payments to someone named Tandadiyemi. Over 5 million naira in the past month. Sent in small amounts to avoid flags. I searched the name. He's a currency trader. The kind who helps people move money off the books. Adanna felt a grim smile cross her face. Can you testify to this? Already told the lawyer I would. Mrs. Okafor. Ifeoma hesitated. Why did you stay with him? I saw how he treated you. The calls when you bring his lunch to the office. The way he'd dismiss you in front of clients. The question hung in the humid air between them. Why had she stayed? For the girls? For the image of the perfect family? Because she believed in the man he promised to be, not the man he'd become? Because I'm a fool, Adanna said simply. But not anymore. That evening, Adanna did something she hadn't done in years. She went to her old catering kitchen in Surulere, the small commercial space she'd rented when her business first started taking off. She'd kept it even after they moved to Banana Island, a safety net Chukwuemeka had mocked as unnecessary. Now it felt like a lifeline. The space was exactly as she'd left it. Industrial stoves, prep tables, her recipes still pinned to a corkboard on the wall. Her assistant, a young woman named Patience, had been maintaining it, taking small orders to keep things running. Madam! Patience's face lit up when Adanna walked in. We heard what happened. Everyone in the market is talking. That man is a disgrace. News traveled fast in Lagos. Adanna's humiliation was probably dinner table conversation across the city. But standing in her kitchen, surrounded by the smell of spices and the tools of the trade she'd built with her own hands, she felt something shift inside her. She didn't need Chukwuemeka's money. She didn't need the penthouse or the lifestyle or the pretense. She'd built a successful business once. She could do it again. Patience, she said, rolling up her sleeves. Call our old clients. Tell them Adanna's Kitchen is back in business. Full service. And tell them we're offering a special rate for any event within the next 2 months. Within hours, her phone was ringing. Old clients, new referrals, people who'd heard about her divorce and wanted to support her. By midnight, she had 3 major bookings, a wedding in Lekki, a birthday party for a politician's wife, and a corporate event at Eco Hotel. She was exhausted, covered in flour and turmeric stains, but alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. Her phone buzzed. Barrister Okonkwo. We have a court date, the lawyer said without preamble. 2 weeks. The Lottery Commission is sending investigators and will present all the evidence, the receipt, the bank records, everything. But Adanna, you need to be prepared. Chukwuemeka hired Barrister Taiwo. He's expensive and vicious. Good, Adanna said, surprised at herself. Let him come with his expensive lawyer. Let him try to explain how he's been hiding money, supporting multiple families, threatening children. Let him try. After the call ended, she stood in her kitchen, looking at the bookings list Patience had compiled. 3 events, maybe 10 more next month. A way forward that didn't involve lottery winnings or a cheating husband or a life built on lies. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a message from Mama Emeka. Ada, I spoke to my son. He denied everything. But I know my child. I know when he's lying. The elders will meet next week. We will discuss this matter properly. In the meantime, I'm sending my brother to stay with your mother. Nobody will touch those children. Nobody. Adanna felt tears prick her eyes. The first she'd allowed herself since that terrible night on Banana Island. Not tears of weakness, but of gratitude. She wasn't alone in this fight. But then another message came through. Another unknown number. This time it was a video. Adanna's hand trembled as she pressed play. The footage was grainy, shot from a distance. But she recognized the location immediately. The Maitama house in Abuja. And there, clear as day, was Chukwuemeka getting out of the car. But he wasn't alone. He was with a man. Not Kimberly. Not Blessing. A man in an expensive suit. Someone Adanna recognized from the news. Chief Obi Okonkwo, a politician known for corruption allegations, money laundering, and connections to organized crime. The video showed them shaking hands, walking into the house together. The timestamp was from 3 days ago, after the court injunction, after the threats. The message below the video read, Your husband is in deeper than you know. Stop digging, or everyone gets buried. Last warning. Adanna's blood ran cold. She forwarded the video to Inspector Nwosu immediately, Then the barrister Okonkwo. Whatever Chukwuemeka was involved in, it went far beyond infidelity and stolen lottery winnings. She'd kicked over a rock and found a nest of vipers. This story is getting more dangerous by the minute. What has Chukwuemeka gotten himself into? Like this video if you're on the edge of your seat. Comment your predictions and share with anyone who loves real African drama. Don't forget to subscribe to African Echoes. You won't believe what happens next. Inspector Nwosu's office had become uncomfortably familiar to Adanna over the past week. This time, he wasn't alone. Seated beside him was a woman in a crisp suit, Detective Superintendent Amara Chukwu from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Mrs. Okafor, the EFCC detective said, her voice professional and cool. The video you sent us has opened up a very concerning investigation. Chief Obi Okonkwo is currently under surveillance for money laundering operations. We've been tracking him for 18 months. We didn't know your husband was connected to him. Adanna's stomach churned. What kind of money laundering? The kind that involves moving cash from Nigeria to offshore accounts, mainly through lottery winners and casino operators. Detective Chukwu leaned forward. Mrs. Okafor, we believe your husband may have been recruited to help wash dirty money. Winning the lottery made him a perfect candidate, large, legitimate winnings that could be used to justify sudden wealth. But the money was frozen. Adanna protested. The official winnings, yes. But if Chief Okonkwo gave him cash up front, say 20 or 30 million naira, in exchange for a cut of the lottery money later, that would explain how your husband is still spending so freely despite the injunction. The detective pulled out a folder. It would also explain why he's so desperate to keep you from claiming the ticket. If you win that case, his deal with Okonkwo falls apart. Adanna felt the room tilt slightly. She thought this was about infidelity, about a weak man and his mistresses. But Chukwuemeka had stumbled into something darker, something that could destroy them all. What do you need from me? She asked. Keep fighting for that ticket, Detective Chukwu said. Go to court, present your evidence, win your case. When you do, Chief Okonkwo will have the surface to try to salvage his investment. That's when we'll move in. And my daughters? Adanna's voice cracked slightly. The threats? We have undercover officers watching your mother's house in Enugu. And Mrs. Okafor, the detective's expression softened slightly. I know this is frightening, but you're safer helping us than running. These people don't forget, and they don't forgive. Your only way out is through. Back at her kitchen in Surulere, Adanna threw herself into work with an intensity that bordered on manic. The wedding in Lekki was in 3 days, and she had 200 guests to feed. She chopped vegetables with savage precision, her mind racing through everything she'd learned. Chukwuemeka wasn't just a cheater. He was a criminal. A stupid criminal who'd gotten in bed with dangerous men, thinking he was clever enough to play their game. Madam, you're cutting those tomatoes like they personally offended you, Patience observed, watching Adanna work. Adanna paused, looked down at the mangled vegetables, and laughed, a harsh, exhausted sound. Maybe they did. Her phone rang. Obi Ajili. Ada Mama called. She said some government people came to the house asking questions about Emeka. What's happening? Adanna stepped outside into the chaos of Surulere evening. Hawkers calling their wares. Okadas buzzing past. The smell of suya and exhaust fumes. Obi, I can't explain everything over the phone, but Emeka is in trouble. Real trouble. Keep the girls there. Don't let anyone take them anywhere, not even people claiming to be from his family. Ada, you're scaring me. Good. Be scared. Be careful. Adanna hung up and immediately called Barrister Okonkwo. The EFCC is involved now. They think Emeka is laundering money for Chief Okonkwo. The lawyer was quiet for a long moment. That changes everything. We need to be very careful how we proceed. These people, they don't play fair. Adanna, they'll do whatever it takes to protect their interests. I know. I'm already living with their threats. Then you need to decide. Do you want to keep fighting? Because once we go to court next week, there's no backing down. Everything will come out. The affairs, the fraud, the money laundering. Your life will never be private again. Adanna thought of her daughters, of 15 years of marriage built on lies. of the lottery ticket she'd purchased with her own money, from her own business, only to have it stolen by a man who betrayed her in every possible way. "I'm not backing down," she said. "Not now. Not ever." The wedding in Lekki went perfectly. Adanna's jollof rice received standing ovations. Her pepper soup had guests asking for her business card, and by the end of the night, she had 5 new bookings. She was packaging up leftover food for the venue staff when her phone rang. Unknown number. Her heart seized, but she answered. "Adanna." Chukwuemeka's voice, but different, frightened, desperate. "We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Please, just listen. I made mistakes, I know, but you need to drop the case. You don't understand what you're involved in." "I understand perfectly," Adanna said coldly. "You're a thief and a liar who got himself mixed up with criminals. That's not my problem. It is your problem." His voice rose, panicked. "Chief Okonkwo, he's not someone you cross. He has people, dangerous people. If you win that lottery case, if you take that money, he'll come after you, after the girls." "Is that a threat?" "It's a warning. Adanna, I'm trying to protect you." "You're trying to protect yourself," she cut him off. "You brought this into our lives. You made deals with criminals. You threatened our children. And now you want me to save you?" She laughed bitterly. "I hope they destroy you, Emeka. I hope you lose everything, just like you tried to make me lose everything. See you in court." She hung up, her hands shaking but her resolve solid as granite. That night, back at the guest house, Adanna received an email from an address she didn't recognize. No subject line, just an attachment. She almost deleted it, thinking it was spam or another threat, but something made her open it. It was a bank statement. Chief Okonkwo's bank statement. And there, highlighted in yellow, was a transfer of 30 million naira to an account belonging to Chukwuemeka Okafor, dated 2 days before the lottery announcement. Below the statement, a single line of text. "Use this wisely. Some of us want to see bad men fall." A friend, Adanna, stared at the screen, her heart pounding. Someone inside Chief Okonkwo's organization was helping her. Someone who wanted to see him brought down as much as she wanted to see Chukwuemeka exposed. She forwarded the email to Detective Chukwu, then to Barrister Okonkwo. The pieces were falling into place. The evidence was mounting. The court date was 5 days away. But at 2 a.m., her phone buzzed with a message that made her blood run cold. It was a photo of Kimberly, the pregnant girlfriend, being loaded into an ambulance. Emergency lights flashing. Chaos. The message: "She lost a baby. Your husband is on a rampage. He's coming for you. Run." Adanna sat up in bed, her heart hammering. She called Inspector Nwosu immediately. "Inspector, I just got a message. Chukwuemeka's girlfriend lost her baby, and he's—" "We know," the inspector interrupted, his voice tense. "We've been trying to reach you. He's at your kitchen in Surulere right now. He's drunk, armed with a machete, and he's threatening to burn the place down unless you meet him there. Mrs. Okafor, do not go to that kitchen. We have units on the way." But Adanna was already grabbing her keys, already heading for the door. That kitchen was her livelihood, her independence, her future. Everything she'd built without him. Everything that proved she didn't need him. If Chukwuemeka thought he could take that from her too, he had another thing coming. The confrontation is about to explode. Will Adanna face her husband, or is she walking into a deadly trap? Comment now, what would you do? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the next chapter will leave you speechless. Share this with someone who needs to see how this unfolds. The streets of Surulere were quieter at 3 a.m., but never truly silent. Adanna's hands gripped the steering wheel as she navigated past sleeping security guards and late-night stragglers stumbling home from clubs. Her phone buzzed repeatedly. Inspector Nwosu, Barrister Okonkwo, Obiagili, but she ignored them all. She could see the smoke before she turned onto her street. Black smoke billowing into the dark sky, visible even blocks away. Her foot pressed harder on the accelerator, her heart threatening to break through her ribcage. Not the kitchen. Please God, not the kitchen. She screeched to a stop half a block away. Fire trucks were already there, their lights painting the night in shades of red and orange. Neighbors stood in clusters, watching, and there in the middle of the chaos, illuminated by flames consuming her dreams, stood Chukwuemeka. He looked like a madman, shirt torn, eyes wild, the machete dangling from one hand. 2 police officers were trying to talk him down, keeping their distance, hands on their weapons. "Where is she?" Chukwuemeka roared, his voice raw. "Where's my wife?" "Adanna, come out and face me like a woman." Adanna stepped out of her car. Inspector Nwosu materialized beside her, grabbing her arm. "Mrs. Okafor, get back in the vehicle." "He's destroying my life's work," she said, her voice eerily calm. The flames reflected in her eyes. "He's already taken everything else. He's unstable, armed, and dangerous. He's my husband." She pulled free from the inspector's grasp and walked forward. "Adanna, no!" Inspector Nwosu called, but she kept walking. Chukwuemeka saw her, his face contorted with rage, grief, something unrecognizable. "You," he screamed. "You did this. You killed my son. You and your witch lawyer and your evil plans." "I didn't touch Kimberly." Adanna called back, stopping 20 feet away. Behind Chukwuemeka, her kitchen, her beautiful kitchen, was being devoured by flames. Years of work, recipes, memories, all turning to ash. "Whatever happened to her, that's on you. That's on your lies and your stress and your criminal activities." "Criminal?" He laughed, a broken sound. "I did it for us, for our family. Chief Okonkwo offered me a chance to be somebody, to be more than a failed businessman married to a woman who made more money than him. He gave me respect. He gave you 30 million naira in dirty money," Adanna shot back. "Money he expected you to wash through the lottery winnings. Money you were stupid enough to take. And now you've lost everything. The baby, Kimberly's trust, the lottery money you stole, and whatever freedom you had left. The EFCC knows everything, Emeka. Everything." His face went pale in the firelight. "You told them? You went to the EFCC?" "I didn't have to. You were sloppy. You left trails everywhere. Bank transfers, text messages, witnesses. Did you really think you were smart enough to play in Chief Okonkwo's league?" Chukwuemeka's hand tightened on the machete. "I won't go to prison. I won't let you destroy me." "You destroyed yourself," Adanna said, and she was surprised by how steady her voice was, how clear. 15 years of fear, of walking on eggshells around his ego, of making herself smaller, so he could feel bigger. All of it burned away like the kitchen behind him. "You destroyed us the moment you decided your pride was worth more than your family." "I gave you everything," he shouted. "A home, a lifestyle, status. I gave you everything." Adanna's voice finally broke, raw emotion flooding through. "I built your businesses when they failed. I fed your family when you had nothing. I gave you 3 beautiful daughters, and you threw them away because they weren't sons. I bought that lottery ticket with money I earned, and you stole like a thief in the night. You didn't give me anything, Emeka. You took and took until there was nothing left." For a moment, something flickered across his face, recognition, maybe even shame. But then his phone rang, shattering the moment. He looked at the screen, and whatever color remained drained from his face. "Chief Okonkwo," he whispered. Then louder, to Adanna. He knows the EFCC is watching. He knows about the court case. His eyes, when they met hers, were terrified. "He's sending people. Tonight," he said they're going to Enugu, to your mother's house, to send a message. The world stopped. "What?" Adanna's voice came out strangled. "The girls," Chukwuemeka said, and he was crying now, the machete falling from his hands. "He's sending people for the girls." Adanna was already running back to her car, already dialing her mother's number with shaking hands. Inspector Nwosu was shouting into his radio, calling units in Enugu, mobilizing backup. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. "Pick up, Mama. Pick up, pick up, pick up." "Ada," her mother's voice, groggy with sleep. "Why are you calling at this hour?" "Mama, lock all the doors." Wake up Uncle Chitty. There are men coming. Bad men. Lock the doors and get the girls into the back room. A crash in the background. Her mother's scream. Then Kayamika's voice, her eldest daughter, Mama? What's happening? Who are those men? Kayamika! Baby, listen to me. But the line went dead. Adanna's legs gave out. She collapsed against her car, the phone slipping from her hands. This couldn't be happening. Not her babies. Not her girls. Inspector Nwosu was beside her, pulling her up. Units are 5 minutes away from your mother's house. 5 minutes. Mrs. Okafor breathed, but she couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All she could see was her daughter's faces. Kayamika's serious eyes, Adi's bright smile, Lil Neoma's laugh. Behind her, Chukwuemeka had collapsed to his knees. Police surrounded him now, taking a machete, securing his hands. He was sobbing, broken, destroyed by the consequences of his own choices. Adanna's phone rang. Unknown number. She grabbed it with trembling hands. Yes, Mrs. Okafor. A male voice, calm, cultured, terrified in his composure. This is Chief Obi-Okonkwo. I believe we need to discuss the terms of your surrender. If you touch my daughters, your daughters are currently secured in our custody. Chief Okonkwo continued as if she hadn't spoken. 3 beautiful girls. Your mother is unharmed, though understandably distressed. Your uncle put up quite a fight. He's in hospital now, but he'll survive. Everything can return to normal, Mrs. Okafor. The girls, the house, even that kitchen your foolish husband just burned. Everything can be rebuilt. All you have to do is withdraw your court case, sign over the lottery winnings to your husband, and forget everything you've learned about me. You bastard. You have 1 hour to decide, he said. I'll send you an address. Come alone. Tell the police, and your daughters will disappear. Do we have an understanding? The line went dead. Inspector Nwosu was staring at her. What did he say? Adanna looked at him, at the burning remains of her kitchen, at Chukwuemeka broken and weeping on the ground. Then she looked at her phone, at the address that had just come through, a warehouse in Apapa. Of course, where all the worst business in Lagos happened. He has my girls, she said simply. Mrs. Okafor, you cannot go to that location alone. It's a trap. Let us. He'll kill them. Her voice was flat, emotionless, beyond fear now. If I don't go, if you storm in with police, he'll kill my daughters. You know how these men operate. You know what they're capable of, which is exactly why. But Adanna was already getting in her car. Inspector Nwosu tried to block her, but she looked at him with eyes that had seen too much, lost too much. Those are my children, she said. Mine. Would you let yours die? She drove away before he could answer. Her phone, already ringing again, Barrister Okonkwo, Obiagili, Inspector Nwosu. She turned it off. All of it off. The streets of Lagos blurred past. The warehouse address glowed on her phone screen. 50 minutes until the deadline. She thought of Kayamika's graduation from primary school. Adi's first time cooking jollof rice with her. Neoma's tiny hand in hers. She thought of the lottery ticket. The 200 million naira. The life she thought she was fighting for. None of it mattered now. All that mattered were 3 girls who deserved better than a father who betrayed them and a mother who would put them in danger by fighting back. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and massive against the pre-dawn sky. Adanna parked and stepped out into the shadows. She wasn't armed, wasn't prepared, wasn't anything except a mother walking into hell to save her children. 3 men emerged from the darkness, their faces obscured. Mrs. Okafor, one of them said. Chief is waiting inside. They took her phone, patted her down, and led her into the warehouse. The space was cavernous, lit by a few harsh overhead lights. In the center, seated in an expensive chair that looked absurd in such surroundings, was Chief Obi-Okonkwo, and beside him, huddled together on the cold concrete floor, were Kayamika, Adiz, and Neoma. Mama! Neoma screamed and tried to run, but one of the men held her back. Adanna's eyes locked with Kayamika's. Her eldest daughter was terrified but trying to be brave, her arms around her younger sisters. Let them go, Adanna said to Chief Okonkwo. Please, they're children. They have nothing to do with this. The chief smiled, a snake smile. Everything to do with this, Mrs. Okafor. Their leverage. The only thing keeping you from being a problem I need to permanently solve. I'll sign whatever you want. I'll drop the case. Just let my daughters go. In time. He gestured to a table where papers were spread out. But first, you'll need to convince me you understand the gravity of crossing someone like me. You'll need to. The explosion shattered the night. The warehouse doors blew inward, smoke and chaos flooding the space. Adanna threw herself toward her daughters as gunfire erupted. EFCC agents poured through the breach, voices shouting commands. Chief Okonkwo's men scattered, returning fire, and in the madness, Adanna grabbed her daughters, pulling them toward the wall, covering their bodies with hers. "Stay down," someone shouted. Detective Chukwu appeared beside them, weapon drawn, shielding them with her body. "We've got you. Stay down." The firefight lasted less than 2 minutes. Chief Okonkwo tried to run, but Detective Chukwu's team was everywhere. They took him down in the back corner, his expensive suit getting dirty on the warehouse floor for the first time in his privileged life. When the smoke cleared, Adanna was still holding her daughters, all of them crying now, safe but traumatized. Inspector Nwosu approached, looking sheepish. "You didn't really think we'd let you go alone, did you? We tracked your phone before you turned it off, had units in position before you even arrived. You used me as bait," Adanna said, and she should have been angry, but she was too exhausted, too relieved that her daughters were breathing and whole. "We saved your children," he corrected, "and we got Chief Okonkwo. 23 counts of money laundering, kidnapping, threatening minors. He'll never see freedom again." Adanna held Neoma tighter, felt Chukwuemeka and Adiz pressed against her sides. Somewhere in the chaos, she knew Chukwuemeka was being arrested too. Fraud, theft, conspiracy, attempted arson. Their marriage was over, destroyed beyond any hope of repair. But her daughters were alive, and that was everything. Did you see that coming? The action is at its peak. What will happen to Adanna and her girls now? One more chapter left. Don't you dare miss it. Like, comment, and subscribe to African Echoes. What do you think Adanna deserves after everything she's been through? 3 months later, Adanna stood in the federal high court in Lagos, her daughters seated behind her in the gallery. The courtroom was packed, journalists, curious onlookers, people who'd followed the saga that had consumed the city's gossip mills. The lottery case had become more than just a divorce dispute. It had become a symbol. Barrister Okonkwo sat beside her, confident and composed in her black court robes. Across the aisle, Chukwuemeka sat with his public defender. He could no longer afford private counsel. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. The swagger and arrogance had been stripped away by 3 months in Kirikiri prison awaiting trial on multiple criminal charges. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Justice Adebayo Ogunlai, a stern woman in her 60s with silver-rimmed glasses, reviewed the documents before her. The evidence was overwhelming. Adanna's purchase receipt, bank statements, testimony from the lottery vendor who remembered her buying the ticket, Ifeoma's testimony about Chukwuemeka's admission that his wife had purchased it. In the matter of Okafor versus Okafor, Justice Ogunlai began, her voice carrying to the hushed courtroom, regarding the disputed ownership of National Lottery ticket number 47-89-23-156. I find the evidence presented by the petitioner, Mrs. Adanna Okafor, to be credible, corroborated, and compelling. Adanna's heart hammered in her chest. Chukwuemeka reached forward from the gallery and squeezed her mother's shoulder. The respondent, Mr. Chukwuemeka Okafor, has failed to provide any legitimate proof of purchase. His claim of ownership is contradicted by financial records, witness testimony, and his own documented statements to former employees. Furthermore, his subsequent criminal activities, including conspiracy to commit fraud in association with money laundering operations, demonstrate a pattern of deception that undermines his credibility entirely. Justice Ogunlai looked up, her gaze moving between Adanna and Chukwuemeka. Therefore, I rule that the lottery winnings of 200 million naira belong solely to Mrs. Adanna Okafor. The freeze on the account will be lifted, and all funds will be transferred to her name within 7 business days. Additionally, I grant the divorce petition on grounds of adultery, abandonment, and irreconcilable differences. The matrimonial home on Banana Island will be sold, with proceeds split 60-40 in favor of Mrs. Okafor, giving her substantial financial contribution to its purchase. Mr. Okafor will pay child support of 300,000 naira monthly for the 3 minor children to commence upon his release from prison, whenever that may be. The gavel came down with a crack that sounded like freedom. The courtroom erupted. Journalists rushed for the doors. Behind her, Adanna heard Adiz let out a sob of relief, but she sat perfectly still, letting the reality wash over her. She'd won. After everything, the betrayal, the threats, the kidnapping, the trauma, she'd won. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed with microphones and cameras. Barrister Okonkwo handled them with practiced ease, while Adanna stood with her daughters, their arms linked. Mrs. Okafor, how does it feel to win? What will you do with the money? Do you have a message for women going through similar situations? Adanna raised her hand, and the crowd quieted. She thought about the woman she'd been 3 months ago, desperate, broken, willing to sacrifice everything for a man who'd never deserved her. Then she thought about the woman she was now. I have learned that sometimes, she said, her voice steady and clear, the worst thing that happens to you becomes the best thing that ever happened. My husband's betrayal freed me. It forced me to remember who I was before I made myself small to fit his ego. To every woman watching this, listening to this story, you are not defined by your husband's failures. You are not diminished by his betrayal. And you're never too old, too tired, or too broken to fight for what's yours. The reporters erupted with more questions, but Barrister Okonkwo shepherded them away to a waiting car. That evening, Adanna sat in a modest 3-bedroom apartment in Ikoyi. Not Banana Island luxury, but clean, safe, and entirely hers. She'd rented it while the court case proceeded, and now, with the lottery money secured, she could buy something permanent. But she wasn't rushing. Everything in time. Her phone buzzed. A message from Mama Emeka. Ada, I heard the judgment. I am ashamed of my son. Ashamed of what he did to you and the children. You are a good woman. You always were. I pray God will bless you and keep you. The girls are still my granddaughters. I hope you will let me see them sometimes. Adanna felt tears prick her eyes, but they were different tears now. Not pain, but something softer. Closure, maybe, or grace. Yes, Mama, she typed back. You are always welcome in our home. The girls need their grandmother. Another message came through, this one from an unknown number. She almost deleted it, but curiosity made her open it. Mrs. Okafor, this is Blessing, the one from Abuja. I heard you won your case. I want you to know, I'm sorry. I didn't know he was married when we met. He told me he was divorced. When I found out the truth, it was too late. I already had my son. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry for the pain I caused. You deserve better. Adanna stared at the message for a long moment. She thought about responding with anger, with all the bitterness she was entitled to feel. But then she looked at her daughters, Chukwuemeka helping Adiz with homework, Neoma watching cartoons and laughing. And she realized something. Holding on to anger would only poison her future. These women, Kimberly Blessing, they weren't her enemies. They were Chukwuemeka's victims, too, in different ways. Women who've been lied to, manipulated, used. I forgive you, she typed back. Take care of your son. Make sure he grows up to be better than his father. Over the next few weeks, Adanna made decisions that would shape her new life. She used part of the lottery money to open a proper restaurant. Not just a catering kitchen, but a beautiful establishment in Victoria Island called Ada's Table. She hired Patience as head chef and Ifeoma as business manager. She brought on single mothers, women who needed second chances, women like herself who'd been knocked down but refused to stay down. The restaurant became famous not just for its food but for its story. Every dish served carried the weight of resilience, every meal a testament to survival. She invested another portion of the money in her daughter's education, establishing trust funds that would see them through university and beyond. Chukwuemeka wanted to be a lawyer like barrister Okonkwo. Adiz dreamed of becoming a chef. Neoma was still young, still discovering herself. But whatever she chose, she'd have the resources to pursue it. The property sale from Banana Island brought in 60 million naira as her share. She bought a comfortable house in Lekki for bedrooms, a garden where her daughters could play, a kitchen where she could experiment with new recipes. Not a penthouse, but a home. A real home built on honest money and fresh starts. She donated 10 million to a women's shelter in Lagos, organizations that help victims of domestic abuse and betrayal. She'd been lucky. She'd had resources, connections, a lawyer who believed in her. Not every woman had that. She wanted to be part of changing that reality. 6 months after the court judgment, Adanna received notice that Chukwuemeka had been sentenced to 8 years in prison for fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. Chief Okonkwo received 25 years. The news came while she was preparing jollof rice for a private party, an anniversary celebration for a couple who'd been married 40 years. She paused in her chopping, let the information settle. 8 years. Her daughters would be grown by the time he got out. They'd build their lives, forge their futures, all without him. She felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness, no lingering attachment. Just a neutral acknowledgement of consequences meeting actions. Madam, the guests are arriving. Patients call from the front of the restaurant. Adanna washed her hands, checked her reflection in the kitchen steel surface. She looked different now, lighter somehow, despite everything she'd carried. Her hair was natural, cropped short and free. Her clothes were simpler, more comfortable. Her smile, when it came, reached her eyes. That evening, as she watched her daughters help serve dessert at the restaurant, Chukwuemeka's careful precision, Adiz's creative plating, Neoma's infectious joy as she interacted with customers, Adanna felt something shift inside her chest. Gratitude, not for betrayal, not for the pain, but for the strength she discovered when everything fell apart, for the community of women who'd rallied around her, for the second chance to build a life on her own terms. Her phone buzzed. A message from Detective Chukwu. Thought you want to know that anonymous tip that sent you Chief Okonkwo's bank records? It was his wife. She's filing for divorce too. Said your story gave her courage. You started something, Mrs. Okafor. Other women are fighting back now. Adanna smiled and looked around her restaurant, at the women working there, at her daughters laughing with customers, at the life she'd built from the ashes of her marriage. She'd thought the lottery ticket was her blessing, but the real blessing had been the courage to fight for it, the strength to stand up when everything tried to push her down, and the wisdom to know that she never needed Chukwuemeka's permission to be extraordinary. She'd been extraordinary all along. Outside, Lagos hummed with its usual chaos, traffic, music, life continuing in all its messy, beautiful complexity. Somewhere in that city, a woman might be discovering her husband's betrayal right now. She might be feeling the same devastation Adanna had felt that terrible night. But maybe, just maybe, she'd hear this story. Maybe she'd remember that betrayal wasn't the end. It could be the beginning of justice, of freedom, of a life she never knew she deserved. Adanna returned to her kitchen, to her work, to the future she was creating, one meal, one choice, one brave moment at a time. The lottery ticket had been worth 200 million naira, but discovering her own worth? That was priceless. What an incredible journey. Adanna's story proves that sometimes our greatest betrayals lead to our greatest victories. Did this story touch your heart? Smash that like button. Drop a comment telling us what you learned from Adanna's courage. And subscribe to African Echoes for more powerful stories of resilience and revenge. Share this with every strong woman you know. They need to hear this. What story should we tell next? Comment below and let us know. Thank you for watching, and remember, you are stronger than any betrayal. Until next time, this is African Echoes, bringing you stories that echo through generations.